Food shortages rarely give warning. Prices creep upward. Store shelves begin to empty, and before long, everyday staples vanish. Canned goods provide a quiet kind of security. They keep well, travel easily, and offer stability when supply chains falter. Here are 8 types of canned foods worth storing while you still can. 1. Canned tuna. The global tuna supply is tightening as skipjack stocks become harder to obtain and costs climb in major hubs. In Ecuador, prices hit a 2-year peak in October, while Thailand's raw material expenses are also increasing, squeezing processors and shrinking the time frame for discounted retail cans. In Vietnam, factories reported steep declines in canned and processed tuna exports to Europe due to limited fishing opportunities and rapidly exhausted duty-free quotas, which drive up costs once tariffs return. In the U.S., import numbers appear strong, but much of that activity reflects importers rushing to order ahead of potential tariff changes rather than genuine consumer demand. Additional tariffs on steel and aluminum are influencing packaging prices for tin plate and lids, and those costs usually reach consumers at the checkout. Trade and policy uncertainty extend beyond America, as tariff risks in Southeast Asia complicate planning for suppliers and buyers on both sides of the Pacific. Quality control also made headlines. A major nationwide recall in February affected several popular tuna brands after a flaw in easy-open lids posed a contamination risk. Though no illnesses occurred, the incident reminded consumers to check lot codes and product rotation dates carefully. Environmental and health oversight kept increasing as well. A key legal case in the UK pushed retailers to remove tuna caught with drifting fish aggregating devices, while European tests uncovered elevated mercury levels in certain canned products, keeping transparency and sourcing in focus. Trade flows are shifting too. Thai exporters have been ramping up deliveries to the Middle East and Africa since 2020, reducing stock available for US and European markets when raw supplies are scarce. Taken together, these patterns show that canned tuna still earns its place in a well-prepared pantry. But its price and availability now depend on fishing yields, metal tariffs, recalls, and sustainability pressures rather than just ordinary demand. 2. Canned beans. Canned beans are regaining attention as a smart safeguard against unpredictable prices and shortages. Recent market data indicate that North American pulse crops are expanding, with new forecasts suggesting higher output for peas, lentils, and chickpeas, helping to stabilize overall supply. Still, trade and shipping costs heavily influence what reaches store shelves. Freight routes through the Red Sea continue to experience delays and diversions, stretching transit times between Asia, Europe, and the Middle East while adding expense. At the same time, restrictions at the Panama Canal keep vessel schedules tight, prompting distributors to extend lead times for shelf-stable items such as canned beans. In U.S. stores, canned fruit and vegetable prices remain higher than a year ago, even if month-to-month changes appear modest. These gradual increases impact household budgets and drive more shoppers towards store brand beans or larger bulk purchases. Policy developments also play a role. Can manufacturers warn that rising tariffs on steel and aluminum could elevate packaging expenses, and those costs often pass directly to grocery aisles? Analysts estimate that a sustained 50% tariff could push can-making costs up by double digits, affecting many pantry staples. Despite these pressures, the canned format maintains its appeal. Major brands and packaging suppliers report consistent demand because cans safeguard food quality, stack efficiently, and make portioning and heating simple. Food safety alerts continued into 2025 as well. One national recall involved nearly 200,000 cans of store brand beans for possible contamination, while another affected baked beans containing undeclared soy allergens across more than 20 states. Such cases highlight a key practice for anyone stockpiling. Check lot numbers, rotate supplies, and save receipts for refunds. Looking ahead, long-term trends offer cautious optimism. USDA projections show that dry beans will remain the dominant pulse crop in the U.S. through the next decade, even as lentils and peas gain ground. In Canada, updated harvest data reveal stronger yields than the previous year, suggesting healthier export volumes this winter. Meanwhile, Australian pulse markets describe softer prices due to abundant Northern Hemisphere production and weaker demand from major buyers. For anyone planning ahead, that mix of factors suggests a favorable moment to rebuild pantry reserves, while still watching freight rates and metal expenses that can quickly tighten conditions. The message is simple. Canned beans continue to be a reliable foundation for emergency supplies. They strike a steady balance among nutrition, price, and longevity. And current trade, cost, and safety updates reinforce how staying informed safeguards long-term value. 3. Canned tomatoes. Canned tomatoes are now entering a period where both price and availability hinge on crop yields, packaging materials, and global transport conditions. California processors project a harvest between 10 and 11 million tons, better than last season's early figures, but still shy of historical highs. Updated delivery counts this month show factories crossing the 10 to 12 million ton mark as the season wraps up. In short, supply is respectable, though far from abundant. In northern Italy, the harvest closed with record production and strong quality, promising stable European supply for sauce and paste manufacturing. Spain, however, tells a different story. Erratic weather and smaller planted areas have reduced yields, tightening the southern European balance. These contrasts matter because Italian and Spanish tomato paste often compensates for deficits in other global markets. Packaging remains a key cost driver. Can manufacturers warn that steeper steel and aluminum tariffs could increase expenses for tin plate and lids, and retail prices generally follow suit? Food brands are already adjusting price models in anticipation of potential 50% tariff hikes on core materials. Some beverage producers even signal a move toward alternate packaging formats to offset metal volatility, a clear indicator that pricing remains unstable. Meanwhile, regulators are reshaping standards for can linings. The European Union has prohibited BPA in food contact materials, and Switzerland has adopted similar rules. As a result, suppliers are transitioning to new coating formulas and performing long-term stability tests. While these shifts do not compromise safety, they add costs and complexity during the switchover. Shipping remains unpredictable as well. Red Sea diversions lengthen Asia-Europe transit times and add to fuel costs, while fluctuating water levels and booking limits at the Panama Canal continue to slow shipments of tomato paste and finished goods to North America. Food safety alerts have also reached the tomato category this year, with recalls involving fresh tomatoes and certain sauces due to processing or contamination issues. A reminder to check lot codes and use older cans first. In summary, canned tomatoes remain a trustworthy cornerstone for quick, affordable meals and flavorful dishes. Short-term prospects look steady, thanks to strong European harvests and consistent U.S. deliveries. Yet the medium-term picture still depends on metal pricing, liner regulations, and shipping stability. Keeping a reasonable backup supply now is a prudent move against these evolving risks, without reacting to every headline. 4. Canned chicken. Canned chicken occupies a valuable niche where protein, food safety, and long shelf life intersect, and recent trends highlight why it deserves a place in any well-stocked pantry during uncertain times. U.S. forecasts point to firm broiler production through 2026, supported by improved hatchery data and easing feed costs. That helps maintain steady raw supply even as wholesale chicken prices ease from last year's elevated levels. Nonetheless, disease concerns continue to raise caution. Federal monitors have reported new outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza, while California documented the first U.S. poultry case of the H5N9 strain alongside ongoing H5N1 detections. In New York, temporary closures of live bird markets followed several avian flu findings, illustrating how quickly local disruptions can occur once health alerts emerge. Although these events rarely affect canned chicken already in circulation, they tend to undermine confidence in fresh meat, increasing interest in shelf-stable protein options. Packaging and regulatory changes also contribute to rising costs. U.S. can producers warn that doubling tariffs on steel and aluminum would significantly increase expenses for tinplate and can ends, with analysts estimating that a 50% rate hike could lift manufacturing costs by double digits. In Europe, the new BPA ban for food contact materials has triggered a shift toward alternative can linings, adding layers of testing and cost during conversion. Transportation challenges persist, too. Red Sea detours continue to add time and fuel charges to shipping routes, while the Panama Canal, still recovering from last year's drought restrictions, has only recently expanded transit reservations, meaning longer delivery windows for imported components. Food safety alerts have kept pace as well. National warnings this year included recalls of chicken-based soups and meal bowls for labeling errors and undeclared allergens. These updates reinforce the same principle across categories. Rotate stock, review product information, and maintain awareness to ensure pantry stability. An additional FDA bulletin outlined a multi-state listeria outbreak linked to ready-to-eat meals that contained chicken ingredients. Major grocery chains also issued alerts about packaging issues in chicken broth cartons that could compromise product sterility. Although these events did not involve traditional canned chicken pieces, they reinforced 3 essential habits for anyone maintaining a pantry. Always verify lot codes, rotate older cans to the front, and keep receipts for potential refunds. Consumer trends are shifting alongside these signals. Market data show that canned meat and poultry are seeing growth as shoppers seek out reliable, protein-rich foods that store easily and heat quickly. The category tends to thrive when fresh supply feels uncertain, or when families need to stretch budgets without sacrificing full meals. In the short term, canned chicken looks well supported thanks to strong broiler output and consistent demand for shelf-stable protein. The medium-term outlook still depends on metal costs, packaging regulations, and shipping reliability. Keeping a modest reserve now is a sensible approach to those changing conditions. Driven by preparation, not panic. 5. Canned vegetables. Canned vegetables have returned to the spotlight as supply chains and costs shift once again. The latest inflation data showed the fruits and vegetables index climbing in August, with tomatoes leading the increases, putting added pressure on grocery aisle prices. USDA's spring report noted that fresh vegetable output declined last year, while the per capita availability of processing vegetables held steady around 100 pounds. As a result, more families are turning to canned options to fill the gap. Another USDA review confirmed uneven 2024 harvests for sweet corn and green peas, further underscoring the value of shelf-stable backups. Retail strategies are evolving as well. Supermarkets plan to expand private label share through 2027, often using competitive pricing on pantry staples like canned corn, peas, and mixed vegetables to draw budget-conscious shoppers. Packaging remains a key cost variable. Analysts warn that higher U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum will raise tinplate expenses, and many manufacturers still depend on imported specialty metals. Consultancy estimates suggest that a 50% tariff rate could add billions in costs across industries, eventually filtering down to canned goods. In Europe, the ban on BPA in food contact materials has taken full effect, prompting producers to transition to new can linings. The shift centers on safety and compliance, but introduces extra testing, development, and expense for products designed to last years. Logistics are another ongoing challenge. Carriers continue to bypass the Red Sea, extending voyage times and fuel use between Asia and Europe. The Panama Canal has relaxed some restrictions, but remains vulnerable to drought cycles, keeping shipping schedules tight and inventory buffers thin. These global transport issues may seem remote, yet they directly influence how many pallets of canned vegetables reach distribution centers each week. Food safety developments have also shaped decisions this year. Nearly 200,000 cans of a store-brand green bean product were recalled due to potential contamination, an FDA Class 2 case. Although no injuries occurred, it served as a reminder of 3 best practices: verify batch codes, rotate older stock forward, and hold on to purchase receipts. Meanwhile, household budgets remain under strain. Federal figures show grocery costs inching upward across categories, pushing more buyers toward multi-pack cans and private labels. Taken together, the argument for maintaining a modest supply of canned vegetables is strong. Prices may rise slowly rather than suddenly, but the combination of constrained metal supplies, new safety regulations, longer shipping routes, and occasional recalls makes quiet, steady stocking far wiser than last-minute buying. 6. Canned soups. Canned soups are gaining renewed attention as shifting economic and logistical conditions favor ready-to-eat, shelf-stable meals. Recent inflation data show that at-home food prices rose again in August, with every grocery category trending upward. That persistent climb encourages more households to choose foods that store well and prepare quickly. Major producers are reporting similar trends from the supply side. Campbell's noted that fourth-quarter sales remained steady, even as organic sales slipped slightly, illustrating a consumer landscape defined by caution, deal hunting, and brand switching. Retail analysts predict that private label soups will keep expanding through 2027, meaning more store brand cans will appear at prime shelf levels with more aggressive pricing. Packaging costs continue to drive uncertainty. Newly implemented 50% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum have raised tin plate prices, and analysts widely agree that those costs will flow through to shelf prices on canned items. Several industry reports estimate that the resulting increase could amount to several dimes per can. A meaningful jump once multiplied across a family's winter stockpile. Europe is also revising the standards that govern what goes inside the can. A new prohibition on BPA and other bisphenols in food contact materials is now active, requiring fresh internal coatings, new approval tests, and some temporary cost increases. Even though product safety remains reliable, the logistics network continues to shift. The Red Sea corridor is still considered high risk, prompting many vessels to sail around Africa, adding both fuel costs and extra days to journeys, while making delivery timelines less predictable. The Panama Canal is operating with better water levels this year, yet daily transits have not returned to pre-drought volumes, keeping shipping schedules tight. These cumulative delays affect not just imported ingredients, but also the movement of finished soups between production regions. Food safety developments offer another reason canned soups maintain their appeal. Federal agencies issued a public health warning this spring concerning a group of frozen food service soups contaminated with foreign material traced to a cilantro ingredient. The FDA's recall dashboard has remained active across multiple food types, reinforcing the core habits of a smart stockpiler. Verify lot codes, bring older cans forward, and save receipts for potential reimbursements. Meanwhile, market research continues to show steady worldwide demand for ready-to-eat soups, with convenience still driving most purchases. When you put all the signals together, the direction is clear. Prices remain firm, packaging materials are under new regulatory standards, trade routes are lengthening, and food safety alerts keep circulating. Canned soups deserve a spot in any calm, prepared pantry, because they bridge all these shifting factors with steady portions, reliable nutrition, and quick preparation. Keeping a modest reserve isn't about alarm. It's simply about smoothing out a season of uncertainty. 7. Canned fruit. Canned fruit is quietly emerging as an essential element of a stable household pantry as global supply patterns and cost factors evolve toward favoring shelf-stable goods. The canned fruit market is projected to reach roughly $13.6 billion in 2025, supported by growing urban demand for convenient, long-lasting food options. Within that, the canned tropical fruit segment alone is forecast to climb from about $5.12 billion in 2025 towards $7 billion by 2032, reflecting how busy routines, limited access to affordable fresh produce, and tighter budgets steer consumers toward consistent alternatives. On the production side, major fruit processing regions, particularly Thailand, continue to face challenges from erratic weather and uneven harvests. Reports note that the canned pineapple sector is entering a delicate balance for 2025 to 2026, marked by slower recovery and higher prices. Labor shortages, tariff fluctuations, and shifting trade relationships all compound the difficulty of maintaining steady supply and pricing for canned fruits worldwide. Packaging and metal availability remain influential. Can manufacturers have warned that new tariffs on steel and aluminum will drive up tin plate and end cap prices, with those increases inevitably filtering through to retail shelves? In Europe, regulatory reform adds another layer of complexity. The region's recent ban on BPA in food packaging materials has prompted a broad switch to alternative linings, bringing added testing requirements and higher production costs during the transition. Global logistics continue to stretch delivery timelines and highlight the importance of buffer inventory. Routes around the Red Sea remain unpredictable due to ongoing security and cost pressures, while the Panama Canal is still recovering from drought-related restrictions, limiting throughput. These disruptions ripple through the supply chain, slowing the arrival of both imported ingredients and finished canned fruit products, especially tropical varieties. Quality and safety issues also remain in focus. A recent U.S. recall pulled tens of thousands of canned fruit units off shelves because of lead contamination. A sharp reminder that shelf-stable does not mean maintenance-free. Meanwhile, some major players in the canned fruit industry are facing financial strain. One iconic U.S. brand entered bankruptcy protection in mid-2025, citing mounting input costs and changing consumer habits. Sourcing trends are evolving too. Major fruit exporting countries are redirecting shipments to new markets in response to tariff changes and shifting demand, which can tighten availability elsewhere. The bottom line is straightforward. Canned fruit may seem like a treat, but it also provides resilience when fresh fruit becomes costly or scarce. With its long shelf life, steady nutrient content, and fewer vulnerabilities than perishable produce, it's a smart element of any broader food security plan. That doesn't mean hoarding. It simply means maintaining a practical rotating supply of canned fruits you actually enjoy and will use when times get uneven. 8. Canned nuts. Canned nuts are gaining subtle but growing importance as supply trends diverge, and as packaging and freight expenses keep overall costs unstable. The newest USDA tree nut outlook shows walnuts trending upward and a mixed performance across various fruit and nut crops, improving overall supply but offering no guarantee of steady retail prices. California's latest Almond Objective report boosted the 2025 forecast to roughly 3 billion pounds, signaling a larger crop that should strengthen global availability and help ease some price pressure. Still, orchard weather and shifting export demand ultimately determine how much of that benefit consumers actually see on store shelves. Peanuts tell a more optimistic story. Federal projections for oilseed crops indicate record U.S. peanut production in 2025, supported by expanded acreage. That's good news for canned peanuts and snack blends alike. Processing and transport may still slow things down, but cashews remain the most internationally influenced nut of the group, and the recent headlines show why planning is critical. Vietnam has reported strong cashew export revenues this year, with European buyers increasing orders even as U.S. imports fluctuate from month to month. In West Africa, producers have been ramping up output, and Côte d'Ivoire raised its 2025 cashew harvest estimate. Yet tariff uncertainty and trade friction have slowed shipments, leaving large volumes of raw nuts looking for buyers. These cross-currents mean canned cashew availability can swing sharply, plentiful one month, scarce the next, depending on import flows and plant operations. Packaging costs continue to sit at the heart of these price shifts. Analyses of recent U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs warn that tin plate prices will rise and ripple through to retail costs. Some forecasts estimate that each can could become several dozen cents more expensive once higher metal costs and thinner promotional margins are factored in. Across the Atlantic, Europe's ban on BPA and related bisphenols in food contact materials is driving a redesign of can linings. The change keeps products safe, but adds qualification steps, testing requirements, and transitional costs that gradually work their way through inventories. Global shipping remains unpredictable. Many carriers still avoid the Red Sea, sailing around Africa instead, a detour that adds days, fuel, and expense to long-haul routes. The Panama Canal has largely recovered from last year's drought limits, but transit times and berth allocations remain vulnerable to traffic spikes. These logistical factors ultimately determine when pallets of canned nuts reach distribution hubs and how much backup stock grocers can safely maintain. Food safety developments complete the picture for the year. Federal tracking systems recorded a Class 1 recall involving mislabeled honey-roasted peanuts that might contain cashews, while another alert flagged undeclared cashews in cinnamon whiskey pecans. The CDC and FDA jointly concluded an investigation into salmonella contamination in a pistachio cream product following a nationwide recall. Meanwhile, international bulletins continued to warn of aflatoxin detections in pistachios and peanuts. The takeaway for consumers remains constant. Check lot codes, rotate older stock, and keep receipts for possible refunds. In the near term, the outlook appears balanced. Larger U.S. harvests should support peanut and almond supply, while the cashew trade adjusts to new tariff realities and evolving demand.